How do I work on myself without jeopardizing my wife and my kids?
Sounds like there's a lot to that question. Tell me, what does work on yourself mean?
So I am currently going to therapy and trying to work on some issues. And I've recently quit drinking and trying to work on being more present and being a better husband and father. But I just worry that going through this and all the anxiety with that, I still find myself not being the nicest version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to work on that without causing more problems.
Gotcha. All right. Tell me, can I probe a little bit? Is that okay?
Oh, go for it.
How old are your kids?
7 and 15.
Say that one more time. 8, 7, and 15?
No, just 7 and 15.
7 and 15. Boys. Okay, 7 and 15. That's a big gap, huh?
Yeah. Well, my oldest is not biologically mine, but
okay. Number 2, how long you been drinking?
About 20 years.
Okay. All right. How old are you now?
38.
38. Okay. So you started drinking young, huh?
Yes.
What did drinking get for you? What did it help with? What did it help with? It helped with something that early.
Turning down the volume on everything. Just kind of making everything a little more manageable.
Okay. Who turned the volume up on you?
My childhood. I had kind of a silent hell.
Okay. All right. And what's the last 20 years been like, college-wise, work-wise? What have you been doing?
Went to work in the oil field pretty much right out of high school. I did a little bit of college, but didn't really get anywhere with that. And had a steady job at the same place for most of my life, actually. About 16 years of those 20, I've been at the same place.
Been riding the roller coaster?
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Okay. Yeah, that if I spent a lot of years with some of my close buddies who are oil field guys, and it's just when it's good, man, it's like an ATM machine, and when it's bad, it is caustic. It's tough. Tough.
Oh yeah.
And nobody teaches 19-year-olds who suddenly find themselves with $180,000. Hey, 2 years from now, you're going to have $11,000. So hang on to it, right? Nobody teaches anybody how to do that. So it's just it's just roller coaster central. Tell me about your wife, man.
We've been married 10 years. She truly is the love of my life. We are in it for the long haul. She is my ride or die.
That's awesome.
And vice versa.
Very cool. Why'd you decide to quit drinking?
I didn't want to model that life for my boys. I didn't want them to grow up drinking and thinking that that's the way to solve your problems.
All right. So one of them is 7. So why now? You've been modeling it for 7 years. So why now?
It's got to the point where in the past, I've kind of like self-detonated everything.
Okay.
And I've got too much now to just blow everything up and walk away.
Paint me a picture of self-detonating.
In the past, I've quit my job, just folded into myself and just kind of disappeared.
Okay. Do you disappear in a bottle?
Not all the time. I just would isolate and just kind of really just go inward.
Okay. So what's a counselor doing for you?
Not a whole lot at the moment. Just a whole lot of sitting and talking, and not really a whole lot practical.
Okay. What do you hope to get from seeing a counselor?
To be able to go through life without just feeling like I'm holding on to an electric fence all the time.
Okay. This sounds like you want peace inside your own chest.
And yes, that's it. Exactly.
Okay.
Peace within myself.
Why don't you like you?
Oh, I don't know that I've ever really liked myself.
I know. I can tell. Why not? Because your wife sure as hell does. Your 7-year-old does. That 15-year-old boy you came into his life, he does. Why don't you?
What happened to me as a kid?
What happened?
I was sexually abused for about 7 years.
You ever said that out loud?
to a couple of people, but not very often.
Okay, I want you to sit on that for a second. How old was that little boy when it started?
6.
All the way up to when you were an early teenager?
Yep, when I was 13 is when it stopped.
Why'd it stop?
He went off to the military, and he finally left me alone.
Okay. You have a 7-year-old little boy right now. Just keep that picture in your head. When you were 6 or 7 years old, it wasn't up to you to protect that kid. But when you see that little 7-year-old, it sets off every alarm you have, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened, man. That shouldn't happen.
Thank you.
And that's a recipe for as long as that went on and for as old as you were. That's a recipe for deep, deep shame and deep, deep rage.
Oh, yeah, both of those.
And
I can't get rid of the rage.
I know. It's going to go. But I need you to know, this is going to sound nuts, and I bet nobody will tell you this. But for hanging on for 20 years, even if you had to do it with a bottle of Jack next to you, I'm proud of you for hanging on for 20 years. That's I think sometimes we see people's what they had to do to survive, and it's like critiquing somebody's swim stroke when the boat sinks and they're out in the middle of the ocean.
Cool.
What I'm looking at is a guy that got himself back to shore. And there's probably a wake of decisions you wish you could have back, and you probably hurt some people and said some stupid stuff, but you made it back to shore. And for some reason, you woke up on the 1st of January 2025 and you decided, I'm done. I'm going to be a different kind of man.
Yes. But I don't know what to do.
You are doing it right now.
Well, it sure doesn't feel like it.
I know. Because somebody told you along the way it's going to feel a certain way and it's going to take a long time. So the first night I actually was in your neck of the woods. I drove several hours into Lubbock, Texas, where I knew a physician who was a close friend of mine. And that's when I walked in and said, I'm not okay. I drove from another city in Texas. I drove all the way to Lubbock because I knew a guy, and I trusted him, and my trust was so thin. And I remember we talked for hours and hours, and I left with a prescription for some anxiety medicine. And I remember calling a buddy who I knew had taken medicine before, and I told him, I don't want to take it. I'm a failure. I'm a loser, yada, yada, yada. And here's what he told me. He said, look, man, you think you're going to wake up tomorrow after taking this pill and everything's going to be like this fake sunshine. That's not how it works. And what he went on to tell me is he tore his bicep lifting weights, and he had to go to months of rehab. And every time he picked up a fork, every time he tried to open a door handle, it just hurt like a searing pain. So he went to rehab, he went to rehab, he went to rehab. He did all the stuff, all these stupid exercises. And this is kind of a jack dude forced to like doing like little finger walks up the wall with his, like with his 2 little fingers, right? And then he said one day he was at the print shop and a box fell. And he reached up and grabbed it, just instinctually to protect somebody. And he realized, hey, my arm doesn't hurt. No way. And he said, that's how the meds are going to work. And that's how healing ultimately is. And so right now, you have gone to sit down. Have you gone to meetings? Is that what you're starting to do?
Yes.
Okay. So you walk and you're sitting in there and you're on the rattling edge of not having a drink. You're dealing with the credit card bills from the holidays. You're dealing with an economy that's up and down and kind of all over the place. You're dealing with West Texas. I'll tell you what they should be doing, that kind of stuff, right? You've been dealing with that. And you and I both know that one drink would make everything a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
But you've committed not to. And now you're going to these meetings, you're just listening to these old guys just tell their stories and tell their stories and tell their stories. And it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. But if you keep going and you're not a lurker and you start participating and you go into your counselor and you say, okay, I've been here for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I want to start practicing some actual things at my house on a daily basis that will dissipate this rage. And I'll give you a couple of things I want you to do, okay?
Okay.
But what's going to happen is 6 months from now, your 7-year-old's going to do some stupid 7-year-old thing, and you're going to laugh. And you're going to remember this story I told you about my buddy who caught the box, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I would have gone into a rage. And you'll know I'm on the path now. Or your wife's going to come home and say, hey, my hours just got cut and you really y'all need the money. And you're going to go into problem solver mode. You're not going to get up and go straight to the fridge and grab a beer. And then you can smile and go, no way, I'm on the path. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The hardest part for you is not the big decision. You made that. The hardest part for you is the continual grinding, the tiny, tiny step by step by step, inch by inch, that you're going to look up in 6 months and realize, I just walked 1,000 miles. You're the guy that's 150 pounds overweight that said never again, and you're in day 12 of going to the gym, and it just sucks. You're sore, everything hurts, you hate it, and you just want to go back to the way it was. But you made a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So, will you do something with me?
Yeah. Anything.
Where did you grow up?
West Texas.
Okay. So let's pretend I'm going to make up a little West Texas town, La Mesa, tiny little West Texas town. Let's pretend you and I are in La Mesa.
Know it well.
And I'm you, except I'm 7. And I want you to close your eyes and imagine you're looking at your 7-year-old self. He's sitting in a chair, and you're sitting in a chair, and you're about 4 feet apart from each other. What would you tell that 7-year-old you?
You'll make it. You'll survive this.
What else?
I can't picture me at 7.
Okay. Picture your 7-year-old. Repeat after me. What's happening to you is not your fault.
And to you, it's not your fault.
There should be adults here protecting you. They're not here, and I'm sorry.
An adult here protecting you, and there's not, and I'm sorry.
But we're going to hang on, and we're going to hang on.
You're going to hang on.
And when we get grown up, we're going to dedicate our lives to protecting the young kids in our world.
And when we get grown, we're going to dedicate our lives to protecting those kids.
And that starts with me looking at you, 7-year-old self, telling you I love you. This is not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Because right now you have a 7-year-old, you have an enraged 12 and 13-year-old who don't know anything to do to protect you other than to clench their fist and swing at everything or duck and cover. And my guess is you've toggled between both of those in your life.
Oh, yeah. This crazy busy and the absolute nothing.
Yeah. The black hole.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2025, sobriety is a piece of it. Dealing with the rage is a piece of it. Letting that 8, 9, 10-year-old version of you finally go play. La Mesa's not a great place to play in, but we're going to let that kid go play.
I'd love to.
Here's what we're doing this year. We're solving for peace. Okay? And so here's what I want you to commit to. And I'll be in it with you. Okay? I want you to commit to keep going to meetings. I got your commitment on that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I want you to, next time you go see a counselor, I want you to demand an action plan.
I've asked for that because I've been listening.
Okay.
And it was blown off. I said, I want to know where we're at, where we're going, and something. I want to be doing something. And it just fell by the wayside. Okay. And I'm just like, I want to be screaming, I need help.
Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to brush our shoulders off. We're going to go find a new counselor. Because the big modern myth in mental health care is not always, but often, that if you just get all the thoughts in the right order, everything works out. And it's not true. You got to go act differently, especially when you've spent 20 years trying to survive. You have to learn new actions, new ways of doing things. For you, you're going to have to practice some mindfulness techniques, not an old man sitting on a cloud going, oh, that's not what I mean. But you're going to have to learn how to exhale. You're going to learn how to go for a walk. You got to learn to laugh and drop your shoulders on purpose. And those are just things you got to practice. That's it. You're going to have to learn really carefully, precisely what your triggers are. What are the things that when it happens, you want to reach for a drink? And then you just have to come up with different plans. This is just things you practice over time. These are actions. And just bringing a guy out of the oil field just to talk is it's important the first couple of sessions. I got to get to know you. But man, we got to get on some homework assignments that are going to help. Okay? And so we're going to find a new counselor. And that's great. It's not a big deal.
One of my questions is, how do I handle sobriety on a trip? That I'm trying to reconnect and trying to be a better husband, and so I booked a trip for us to go out of town for Valentine's.
You and your wife?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know how to fit sobriety into that, because so much of my life was getting to that point. I wasn't a day drinker. I would wait till the evenings, but it was still a problem. I'm not any better than anybody else, but I, on vacation, used to tend to let go a little more to have fun, and I don't know how to balance that. And I don't know if there's good meetings in Nashville, because that's where we're headed. So I don't know what to do.
Well, number one, yes, there are meetings here. Number two, you need to have a sponsor that you can text when those night times, when the demons call at nighttime.
Yeah.
The third thing is, somehow a story has been connected in your mind that letting loose and letting go equals freedom. And because you're so clenched fighting demons every minute of every day, that's all you got. When you solve for peace every minute of every day, and you're not going to war every minute of every day, then you don't have anything to escape from at nighttime. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds good.
I know. It's like, oh, okay, good. So here's what I mean. You're not in a place where a vacation for you coming to Nashville, Tennessee in February is a thing you can do that's not highly, highly scripted. And it might be, this is not a quote unquote relaxing weekend or trip.
Mine never are.
I know. But let's make it a challenge in a positive direction, not an unletting that causes all kinds of relational damage on the other side. Yeah. So you know when I'm out on vacation, here is usually what I'm aiming for at the end of a night. I would love for you to sit down with your wife and say, can we plan this? Even if we have to go, we get scripts when I'm on live events. They're called MBMs. They're minute by minute. And so that's where y'all are right now. And that's okay. It's actually going to make you have a better trip, because here's what you're going to do. You're going to sit down with your wife and you're going to say, let's dream about how we want this vacation to feel at 10 o'clock every night of the week we're on this trip. I want it to feel like, okay, cool. What must be true? Because I'm not drinking. And it may be y'all come all the way to Nashville, Tennessee and go to a movie.
That sounds fun.
But we'll have held hands, come all the way to Nashville, Tennessee and go to the T-Pack and go watch a play. Right? Like, so we're going to plan this thing together. And that may be the greatest vacation thing you can do. And it may also be you get into February and you're head over heels into recovery and you're head over heels into a great therapist, and you back up and say, hey, this trip in February, we're going to punt it to April. Because right now I've done just enough counseling that the scabs are starting to come off and things are pretty raw. And so me hopping on a plane is just a recipe for landing 6 beers in. Or we're coming to Nashville, Tennessee, and we're going to go down to Broadway. And that's just not a good idea, man, because there's alcohol everywhere. It's okay, great, cool. And I hang out with people all the time who are stone sober. Professional musicians and comedians who, like, they can be around all day long. They just don't even, like, meh. And so you'll get there. You're just not there yet. That's all right. You're training for a marathon, and you can do the couch to 1 mile. Great. You're on the path, man. Here's your homework assignment, brother. I want you to write a letter to 7-year-old you, and I want you to write a letter to 13-year-old you. And I want you to tell them, I'm sorry. It was not their fault. Everything that happens starting today, you're going to take responsibility for. You're going to make the calls. You're going to get a new counselor. You're going to do the exercise. You're going to practice sleep. Hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Building a Non-Anxious Life. I want that to be your blueprint for you and your wife, for building a life that is surrounded by peace. And for you, sobriety is going to be a part of that for a while, if not forever. Great. And we're going to meet with a good trauma therapist, of which I know are in West Texas. And if you have to drive an hour or two, great. But we're going to get on the path. Or stay on it, actually. I am proud of you. You call me anytime. I'll have you on the show anytime you cut to the front of the line, and we'll walk with you. I'm proud of you, my brother. Day 12. You're on it, man.